For those of you who were here last week, was anybody here last week? Okay. All right, so a little recap on last week. We started talking about, I've been going through this Walking with God series of talking about like what's important in this life is walking with God. It's not following a set of rules or being part of a particular church or something like this. The most important thing is walking with God. And so in the first 11 chapters of Genesis, it's like all of it up to this point, there's, I don't know, maybe 1,000 years or give or take of time that's all captured in this 11 chapters. And then for the 12 through whatever, 22, 24, I think, it changes from all these people's stories to this one man's story, Abraham. And so it slows down. And I talked about last week, why is the reason that it slows down? Well, it slows down because God is hitting the brakes so that we can see in slow motion, so to speak, what it looks like to walk by faith. In slow motion. Because before, I mean, we know Noah had faith. We know Enoch had faith. We know Adam had faith. All these people had faith. And yet, we don't really know a whole lot about their lives. Abraham, we get the whole rundown. Like dialogue, family, everything of Abraham's life. And the reason being, God wants to show us what it looks like to walk by faith. So we can get an idea and we can apply those principles to our own lives. So, chapter 12, since none of you were here last week, or well, only one of you, I'll give you a quick recap. Recap last week. Chapter 12, verse 1 of Genesis. If you got a Bible, we got Bibles over here if you need one. But I'll read it to you. The Lord had said to Abraham, leave your native country, your relatives and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. Now, he was very specific about what he was supposed to leave, right? Leave your, what does it say there? Leave your native country. Leave your relatives. Leave your father's family. He's very specific about that. And then he's very vague about where he's supposed to go. Where is he supposed to go? To the land that he's going to show him. Where is that? We don't know. We don't know. And that's the whole thing about the beginning of faith. The beginning of faith is a call not to a place, not to a position, but it's a call to God himself. Because he didn't tell him where he's going to go, but he did tell him, I will show you. In other words, he's going to be there with him throughout the whole journey. So it doesn't matter if he doesn't know where he's going, because he knows who's going to be leading the way. See, this is the thing. It's like all movies start off like this too. I mean, like so many different movies have stolen this story, right? You got either your damsel in distress or the person who's lost their way or something, and then there's some kind of chaos, and then in steps this hero, but you don't trust him yet. He's kind of rough around the edges. You don't know what they're about, but it's like, okay, come with me. And he like reached out a hand, and then they're looking at the hand like, I don't trust you. Who are you? I don't even know. But then they look back at the danger and everything here, and it's like, should I go follow this person that I don't even know? Or fend for myself in this mess? And then it's like, well, here we go. Okay, I'll trust you. And they go off, and then the story goes on from there. That's the beginning of faith. God is calling Abraham, and he's saying, go to the land that I will show you. Leave all of this that you're around, go to the land that I'll show you. And it doesn't matter, it's just like, trust me. It's kind of like a blank check. It's kind of like a blank check. That's the beginning of faith. It's kind of like a blank check. You don't know where he's going to take you. All you know is your option is fend for yourself in this mess, or trust this God that you don't even really know. Those are the options. It's like, well, can't be much worse than this. It's like, this ship's going down, and you know how to fly. So I don't know where we're going to fly to, but I'm holding on. So then we fly, right? So we take off. That's the beginning of faith. The growth of faith is in a process. As the rest of the movies go on, I mean, I should probably narrow it down to one movie. I got like 1 million movies in my head of like where this happened. Me and my wife, we got, what's that old movie, Waterworld or something, and it was in the $5 bin. So it was like, yeah, sure, why not? And watch it, same kind of thing, right? It's like, it's a mess. They're getting overrun, and then he comes in, this crazy guy, and he's like, you got to take us with you. Where are we going? Well, wherever, out of here, you know. Or Night and Day with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, and he's this like special ops, crazy, you know, talented guy or whatever. She's in trouble. Anyway, I could mention 1 million movies that all have the same theme, and they stole it right from here, because this is how it starts off. God says, "Do you trust me? Do you trust me?" It's like, well, but where are we going to go? Doesn't matter. Do you trust me? Well, okay, I'll trust you. So we grab his hand and we go off. Now, the second part, the growth, this is a process. This is a process. As those movies go on, there's always some kind of conflict, right? There's always some kind of thing that happens where it's like they don't trust them, so they do something on their own, and then they end up messing everything up, right? So like, for instance, in the Waterworld, just because this one's fresh on my mind, okay? Just give me a break. It's fresh on my mind. All right, so like the plane's coming in, and he goes down under because he's got something on the ship that he's going to do to take out this enemy plane that's coming in. So he goes down. Meanwhile, she's up on the thing freaking out, and so she sees this little like harpoon-looking thing. So she goes, oh, okay. And so she goes and she shoots, and it hits the plane, and the plane starts going around, tied by this cable. So he starts taking down the mast of his ship, and everything's coming down. So he comes up, and his whole ship's falling apart, and everything. And it's like, and she's like, well, where were you? I had to do something. This is exactly what happens in our lives. And this is exactly what happened in Abraham's life. So there's a lot of chapters, and I'm not going to read it. I'll just kind of give you the summary. I encourage you to go back and read the story of Abraham. But first thing that happens, he goes, God promises and said, hey, I'm going to give this land to your descendants. I'm going to give this land to your descendants. That's God promised him that. So he's like, okay, cool. Well, then what happens? There's a famine. There's a famine. And he can't control that. So what does he do? He goes down to Egypt. Takes matters into his own hands. But then, even there, God told him that he's going to make him into a great nation. Right? God told him that. But he didn't know that God could protect him. I mean, we know because we know the story. We know God can protect us. But he just met God. He didn't know. And so he thought he had to protect himself. Because his wife was smoking hot. And so he knew, as soon as we go into Egypt, they're going to kill me so that they can take her. So he said, hey, tell them you're my sister. And technically they were half brother, sister. That's another story. We can talk about that later. Said, tell them you're my sister. And so she said, okay. So sure enough, they go in. The Egyptians start singing her praises to the Pharaoh. Pharaoh's like, I want that one. Takes her into his harem. Now Abraham's like, what did I do? Because now his wife's gone in Pharaoh's harem. In steps God. In steps God. God shows up to Pharaoh like, no. This man is my man. You give his wife back. So then he calls Abraham in. Says, what did you do to me? You're trying to get me in big trouble. And then he says, well, I was afraid that you were going to, kill me to get her. And so Pharaoh ends up giving him all kinds of livestock and servants and everything else to kind of like make up for any kind of, bad image or whatever. And sends them on their way. Says, you could stay wherever you want kind of thing. Takes care of them. But who did that? God did that, right? God's the one that showed Pharaoh, like, no, this is my guy. So Abraham thought he had to protect himself. But then he couldn't. Okay, so that's the land. The next one, he said, I'm going to give you, descendants. Well, guess what? Sarah is not having babies. She's not popping them out. And And so he's wondering, he's like, God, okay, what's going on? Even Sarah's like, God, what's going on? So they decide, they grab the harpoon, and they decide they're going to take matters into their own hands. And so Sarah says, hey, I got this servant that we got in Egypt from that last escapade, Hagar. Why don't you sleep with her, have a baby with her that I will raise as our child? Abraham didn't take much convincing. He was like, okay, yeah, okay, we could do that. So they did. They had Ishmael. Now Ishmael was not God's plan. It was Abraham's plan. Abraham's plan and Sarah's plan. And so now they're raising this child. How many women do you think have a baby and then they're like, hey, yeah, sure, I got no problem. Here, you want to raise my baby? Yeah, sure, go ahead. I don't got any problems with that. Yeah, it's not exactly a common thing that happens. And so there was animosity between Hagar and Sarah to the point where something had to be done. Hagar gets sent off. Anyway, it's a long story. But the point is this. Later, God shows up and says, no, I'm going to give you a son. And then Abraham's like, yes, Lord, bless Ishmael. He said, no. I will bless Ishmael. I'll bless him too. Why? Because I'm a loving God and I care about him. Even though you messed up, I care about him. So yeah, I'm going to bless him. But I'm going to give you a son through Sarah. He's like, okay, Lord, I believe you. And so what happened? Here they are, old, past childbearing age. They get pregnant. God did the impossible. Opened up the barren womb, did the impossible. So it's been this journey the whole time of Abraham going after what he thinks that God is leading him towards, and then hitting a roadblock or something that he didn't expect. And then he takes matters into his own hands, messes everything up, and then God comes in and shows him, you could have just trusted me from the get-go. Nothing's too... You can't protect me from Egypt. Oh, yes, I can. You can't open a barren womb. Oh, yes, I can. But see, he didn't know that about God. And this is the growth of faith. This is the process of faith. There's going to be things in your life where you're following God, and you're going to come up against a roadblock. You're going to be like, okay, God, I'm following you, but I'm going to have to take care of this one right here, okay? I'm going to have to do something to fix this, because this was definitely not part of your plan right here. And so I'm going to get the truck, okay? I'm going to, you start putting together some kind of plan where you're going to now take charge. And then every time that happens, there's a fallout. There's a fallout. Every time we try to fix God's plan, like it needs fixing, there's a fallout. And then it makes things more difficult. The mast goes down on the ship, and then it takes time to rebuild it. All that stuff. When all the while, God's saying, I knew what I was doing from the get-go. I'm asking you to trust me. But God, look, it's closing in. And I'll tell you one thing, just from my personal experience. Time has been the biggest one for me. It's like timelines. What I'm saying is deadlines. Maybe I should put it that way. It's like, no, God, okay, I'm on an escalator, and this is the end of the line. And I'm like, my God, you going to do something? It's getting pretty close. All right, God, okay, God, do something. Do something, because it's and there's this barrier that is just hard to trust God through that barrier. And every time that we get close, we start freaking out and then do something on our own. Meanwhile, God's saying, just trust me. But it's like, God, it stops there. It's like, I can't do it. And then finally, I'm like, okay, God, when I get to the end this time, God, I'm just going to trust you. Because there's a gap right there, and I need to get to the other side. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I trust you. Oh my goodness. It's happening. It's like, oh God, I didn't even see that there. And then you look back and it's like, oh, the sun was in my eyes. I didn't see what was happening over there. You know what I'm saying? There's always something that you don't see. which makes it hard to trust God. But there's nothing that he doesn't see. And there's no power that he doesn't have. There's nothing that can like stop his plan. So why don't we trust him? It's because it doesn't meet our expectations. We got expectation. I'll tell you what, I didn't expect to be single in my 30s. I didn't expect that. But that happened. That happened. That was the hardest one for me. That was like my baby, so to speak. I was like, God, I want to get married. It's like, I'm 20, I'm 21, 22. God, I thought I had some kids by now. You know, it's like, I'm not even dating. It's like, God, I need some. Didn't happen. And I'm like, God, okay, but right here, if I don't have kids by now, God, by the time they're old enough to play ball, I'll be throwing out my back or something. Like I got, boom, broke that barrier, passed it. But I look back and I'm like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. And I trust you. So it's when he shows himself powerful that then, in hindsight, we see it and we're like, okay, God, that's what it is. I trust you. And then when you're coming up against your next barrier, you're like, God, all right. This looks kind of creepy, but I know what you did last time. This is one of those again, though, right? You're going to do it. You're going to do it again, right? And then it's like, okay, God, I trust you. And then it gets to the point where you see barriers and you're like, not even worried about it. Not even worried about it. Woo! Okay, God, I trust you. I don't know where we're going, but I trust you. That's the growth of faith. That's the growth of faith. And so don't beat yourself up if you've taken matters into your own hands, because it's human nature. We all have. Abraham did. He's the father of faith. And he did several times. Right? It takes time to get to know God. But then as you mess up, you don't trust him, you take matters into your own hands, then he comes and he shows you who he is. And shows you what he can do. Shows you that he does care for you, that he does love you, that he's not trying to make your life miserable. He shows you all of that. You see it, and then you're like, God, I should have trusted you from the get-go. I should have trusted you from the get-go. And then you do, and then next time you have another test, another trial that comes up. Some of you, I know you've been walking with God for some time already. Some of you might have grown up in the church. Some of you might have grown up walking with God. You see what God did in your life already. And you can look back, and I guarantee you, if you look back, you're going to see his hand. You're going to see his hand. You're going to see, okay, God, you're right. I wouldn't be who I am right now if that didn't happen. I wouldn't have chose that, but I do see what you're doing. Now that you can look back and see that, as you start to look forward, and you start to come to these boundaries, these barriers, this is where you have an opportunity to exercise your faith. An opportunity to exercise your faith. Because it's here where it's like, okay, God, I don't understand, but I trust you. I don't understand, but I trust you. He's like, do you trust me? It's like, okay, God, I trust you. And you go, and then once you do that, once you grab a hold and you do trust him, it builds your faith. Because then you can see that he's faithful, which I guarantee you he will be. But you can see that he's faithful. And when you see he's faithful, barriers are meaningless now. All these deadlines and barriers that I put up for my life in the things that God has promised me, the things that God is leading me towards. All the barriers that come up, they're meaningless. Because then you're brought back to the fact there's only one thing that matters. Am I following God? Am I letting him lead? Am I walking with him? Am I walking with him? That's the only thing that matters. And so that's the growth of faith. That's how it's the gym, so to speak, where your faith gets worked out. It's trials, deadlines, barriers, all these things. This is what God uses to build our faith. And once you're mature in your faith, you're unstoppable. It's like nothing phases you. Wouldn't you like to have that in your life? Wouldn't you like to have that stability? That no matter what happens, you're still stable? You're still like, okay. I mean, a lot of us, when our faith is young, life is a roller coaster. I mean, I know mine where they're like, God, you're wonderful. I'm going to die. God, this is awesome. It's like, That's when your faith is young, life is a roller coaster. As you work through it and you see his hand working, as he's showing you who he is in this relationship, you look back and you become steady. It's like, God, I don't understand, but I trust you. I don't understand, but I trust you. Now it's like, I'm not even worried about it. I just trust you. And so your faith builds, and then you have that stability that we long for. So anyway, that's the growth of faith. Next week, I'm going to talk about the mature faith. So I started off with the beginning of faith. The beginning of faith is that blank check. It's the one that's just like, okay, God, blank check. I'm yours. I'll follow you. Where we're going, doesn't matter, because wherever it is better than where I'm at. So I trust you. That's the blank check that begins it. That's the beginning of faith. And then there's the growth process of faith, where it's trial and error, and I get to know, okay, God, you really can do what you say. You blew my mind. Okay. And then we get to the mature faith, which we'll talk about next week. All right? Any questions? Comments? You all understand what I'm talking about, though, right? I'm sure you're looking back at your own life and like, yeah, I seen God's faithful hand. There was times I didn't understand, but he's faithful. He's faithful. Anyway, let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for your faithfulness. And God, that we can trust you. I thank you for the things that you brought me through in my life, and I know them too, God. I know that you brought them through things as well. And I'm just thankful for the fact that you care enough to show us, God, that you lead us, that you're not pushy, Lord, that you give us an opportunity to learn who you are in this process, in this growth. So I thank you for your patience with us. Please be patient with us, God, as we learn your faithfulness. And may we learn it more and more so that we can walk more confidently and stable with you for the rest of our lives. Ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.